I was wrong about Manchester United. Yes, that is the title of today's video because, to be honest, I actually got it wrong. I thought Manchester United this season were going to progress from last season. I thought kind of the way it kind of went in towards the end and the FA Cup win against Manchester City, this would all kind of carry on through to this season, carry a bit of momentum. But sadly, no, Manchester United have got off to an absolutely dreadful start. It is their worst start after 7 games in any season since 1989 to the 1990 season back under Sir Alex Ferguson when they came 13th in the league. It has been absolutely dreadful for them. So far, after 7 games, they're currently sat on 8 points, 2 wins, 2 draws and 3 losses. And I think the worst part about it is the performances, to be honest. The performances have been absolutely dreadful. I think back to the Fulham game where they just about scraped a win. You can think about it in so many moments where they kind of really haven't been deserved. And then the fact that you think as well in Europe this week against Porto away, just about scraping on to get a 3-3 draw with a Harry Maguire late goal. Recently, there's been a lot of scrutiny under Ten Hag. A lot of people looking at him and pointing the finger saying, is he the man to take them forward? And I think what's really interesting about this is I feel like he'd have already been sacked by now because it keeps every week results don't go their way or the result slightly goes their way. Because a lot of people have argued that, yes, this weekend it was a 0-0 draw and the performance wasn't great, but it's a result. It's a result that no one expected. Everyone expected Aston Villa to dominate them. So there's kind of a few people that have been trying to spin it as a bit of a positive and saying that Ten Hag's kept his job because of that result against Aston Villa. But I think really Man United have got higher aspirations. I think the Ineos group have got bigger aspirations than that. So I don't think that has kept him in the job. I think they're waiting for the right man to come in because I think it's now too far gone for Ten Hag. I can't get my head around the fact that anyone can still stand by him and think he's the right man. This is since they've started in the Premier League alone, their worst points performances after 7 games. He has got 2 out of the bottom 3. That just shows you how poor, and it's been consistent now. Last season was a poor start. This has been also a poor start. At this point last season, he was on 9 points. So it just shows you how dreadful it is going into this game. And I look at it as a whole and I just think, what is going on? And you kind of look at the players and you think about the amount of money that this guy's spent. You can only point the finger at him, and that's the problem. Because I know there's a lot of kind of other kind of little aspects you can kind of look at and you can talk about. You can talk about the fact that Rashford, a player like him, shouldn't really be playing when you're out of form kind of thing. You'd expect somebody else to come in, but because for some reason they got rid of Jadon Sancho, I know that's because of Ten Hag, but as in the kind of the like-for-like swap in that left wing position. So Rashford is playing consistently week in, week out, even though he probably should be dropped, and most other sides would drop a player in that position. So that's why it's kind of a bit of an odd one, and there's kind of so many different aspects. Yes, I know they've got a lot of injuries, but you can't blame injuries. Every team gets injuries, but they find themselves 14th in the league. They're 2 points ahead of Leicester City. They're joint points with Bournemouth and West Ham. This just kind of shows you where Man United are at now, and I was wrong about them. I honestly thought they were going to kind of bounce back this season. I thought they'd kind of look at sides like Tottenham, look at sides of Villa, Brighton, all of the kind of those sides that are just, and even Chelsea, just outside of the top 3, because really the top 3, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, going into the season, everyone knew that would be the top 3 again. I thought they could be one of those kind of next teams that battling with the likes of Newcastle and things, teams that can kind of get in and kind of just about fight, because we've seen for recent years now, we call it the Big 6, but there's always been that 2 or 3 positions at the end that kind of been interchanging because no one can kind of really put their foot in the door and kind of make it theirs. And I thought, you know what, maybe Man United, this could be their year, but for some reason, it's just not working. You kind of look at it and you think, what on earth is going on at Manchester United? I was wrong. I was completely wrong. I thought some of the signings were quite exciting, like the De Ligt signing. I know a lot of people like to say, he was kind of forced out of Bayern Munich. That's really lazy. If you go and research and look at the amount of games he played towards the end of his time at Bayern Munich, they did like him. He was a good player, and the fact that Bayern Munich fans did there was a massive poll online, and the majority of people wanted him to stay. So it just shows you kind of what that kind of player that he is. Mazraoui as well, good footballer. Ugarte, yes, I know he didn't have a great end to the season at PSG, but at the start of last season, he looked incredible after he moved from Sporting. He's a really good footballer, and it's kind of then you got likes of Xerxes, who had a great season at Bologna, and it's like they keep signing all these players that have done well elsewhere, and then they come into this United team and they just rot, and they just get swamped by the pressure. And I keep thinking and I keep expecting things to change, but for some reason now it's just not, and something has got to change from top to bottom, and that's why I think they've got to get rid of Ten Hag like ASAP. And I've got to get somebody in that can kind of given time and completely restructure and change his side. They need a winner, somebody like a Tuchel. I know people are saying maybe Xavi or Inzaghi and things like that, but I think Tuchel, who's currently, because he's not in a job, I think he's probably the manager I look at and think it makes sense. He will kind of really ruffle some feathers and cause kind of players to probably strop a little bit and things like that, and you might see some arguments and player falling out, but he will require and demand a winning side, and I think that's something that they are crying out for, because I know they've kind of gone for the tried and tested, and they've gone for your likes of Mourinho and managers like that, and not on about winners, but I'm on about Tuchel. Kind of, he brings his presence. Like, he was unfairly sacked at Chelsea. He's got a point to prove in the Premier League, so I kind of look at him as kind of the manager I'd see, and I kind of understand, but I just can't get my head around how bad they're performing. And like, that game against Aston Villa was just absolutely dreadful. It was such a tough watch, and you're watching Villa and they looked like they were lethargic. They looked absolutely shattered, and without players like Onana and Bailey and players like that who kind of been there's standout players this season, those kind of players that are quite exciting, all out, you kind of looked at it and go, do you know what, actually Man United could get something here, but they just played so slow. It's constant. You watch them and you get really frustrated because there's so many individually good players in that squad, and you think, how is none of these stepping up? What is going on here? And you feel bad for players like Kobe Mainoo, who really are performing well, but there's no one around them that seems to be playing on their level, and kind of you just really want to see more from this Man United side, because really they're an exciting team. They're an entertaining team to watch in the past, and they're obviously the biggest team in world football to a lot of people. So it's not good for the Premier League. You want them to be up there and competing to make these games more exciting. You don't want to watch this kind of Man United. I know a lot of people like to enjoy the kind of downfall of it, but you also want to see good football. I'm a neutral fan. I'm a West Bromwich Albion fan, so it doesn't affect me. So I want to see a good Man United side every Sunday when I'm sat in the pub at 4 o'clock waiting around to watch the game, not what's been going on at the moment. And something has to change from top to bottom. We keep speaking about this and what is going on, but I just feel like something's got to change ASAP. And I understand that the Ineos group are saying we're waiting for somebody, but how long can you keep waiting? How long can these results keep going? And you will slowly fall down the league and kind of further and further away down the ladder, away from the big boys, because all that's happening is every time they stay with Ten Hag, they're slipping further and further away of your Arsenals, your Chelseas, your Brightons, even your Forest and Brentfords. That's the kind of state this club are in right now. Something has to change ASAP, and I understand a lot of people saying, got to stick with him, like what's going to happen? It's not just the manager's fault. I'm not saying it's just the manager's fault, but sometimes the players quite clearly aren't going to play for him. And yes, people might say, well, what's to say that they're not going to play for the next manager? Well, if they're not going to play for the next manager, at least you're in the same position, not just staying with Ten Hag and just expecting this kind of same level of output. It's just not good enough. So please let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, because I don't think I was one of the only people that expected a lot more from this Manchester United side this season, because I know for a fact I'm not the only one. A lot of people expected a lot more from this side. A lot of people expect them to compete for just on the outskirts of European spots. But right now, the way they're playing it is absolutely horrific. And with the way they go in, especially with their European form as well, I've spoken about that on a recent video. Ten Hag has won 1 in 10 games in European football since he's come in at Manchester United, and that was the one win was a 1-0 win against Copenhagen at home, and that just kind of shows you kind of the situation. It's not just the Premier League. Yes, he's got the FA Cup win, but how much can that carry a manager? How many times can he mention that we've won something? That's where it doesn't sit right. I know they won the League Cup the season before against Newcastle as well, but it just kind of just doesn't sit right with me. You need more. This is Manchester United. I know I sound like Gary Neville. This is Manchester United, but it is. And this cannot carry on. So please tell me, were you in agreement with me? Surely I'm not the only one who got it wrong about Manchester United, but we need to see changes fast. And I think the longer they leave it, I don't understand why you wouldn't get a manager in now, just before the international break. Because yes, I know there's a lot of good players in that squad, but not all of them are internationals anymore because of the form. They're not getting picked for their international side. So getting a manager now surely would have made more sense. They could have had a week or so with them away from the media, just so they can focus on rejuvenating and reigniting this team. But yeah, it just looks really, really worrying signs for Ten Hag and Manchester United. But let me know in the comments, where do you think they'll finish? Please smash the like button. Please do subscribe and let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another upload. Thank you. Goodbye.